He's talking about just the Christian faith in a nutshell. It's nothing fancy, nothing crazy, nothing ultra-religious. It's just about us and our Creator. That's what I love. And that's what this book goes into. On the back here it says, because when you're wildly in love with someone, it changes everything. And in my heart, my prayer is that we can all be wildly in love with God and understand that. But sometimes that doesn't happen. Sometimes it's happened before and we forget about it. And we don't know how to get back on track. So I want to talk a little bit tonight about just trying to get ourselves honest with where we are as an individual on that walk, because that's a starting point. Because to be able to be complacent and to get to a point where we just get it and we're content should never be the goal of a Christian. To be like, oh, I'm content with knowing everything I need to know about God, and then you stop pursuing it, because before you know it, you'll forget why you were doing it in the first place. So how many of you guys, there's this movie out, I don't know if you've heard of it, it's called Avatar? Anyone heard it? Okay. How many of you guys have seen Avatar? How many of you guys have seen Avatar twice? 3 times? 4 times? 5 times? Wow, nerd alert. Oh my gosh. Wow. Not judging, but seriously, wow. Okay, so I finally watched the movie Avatar. Okay, I finally watched it, and I watched it a couple months ago, to be completely honest with you. I watched Avatar a couple months ago, but then I watched it again about a week ago, and it was different. Let me start out by saying this. I don't know if you've noticed, but Avatar, in that movie, it preaches the gospel. And that's not just because I'm a youth pastor and I look for that stuff. It preaches the gospel. Let me share that with you. So this movie is about this guy, Jake, who's he's a little bit egotistical, right? He's doing his own thing. He's walking through life. Kind of a little bit cocky. He's got this agenda. He goes to this place, right? He doesn't know completely why he's there, and he is now following orders given to him from a couple different people, right? I haven't watched it that extensively, so please don't judge me. But so now he's going out and he's following these orders, like go meet these people, figure out kind of what they're about, and so that's what he's doing. He's just kind of hanging out. And he's hanging out with, he gets his avatar body and he's lingering and hanging out with these people. And I'm sorry, spoiler alert's coming if you haven't seen it. I've even seen it, so. But he ends up relating with these people because he's spending time with them. It makes sense to him. And ultimately, he becomes one of these people, right? So he's in their culture, and these are a group of people who are extremely passionate about each other. They love the planet that they're on. They take care of their land. And once he gets it, once he experiences this, ultimately at the end of the movie, he becomes one of them, right? Remember that scene, if you've seen it at the end, where he literally becomes an avatar? It's like he leaves his old body and becomes a new creation. And he gives himself up to be something bigger and different and have significance. It's the gospel. That's the gospel. But what needed to happen for him was he needed to get out and have an experience. It wasn't like, oh, I read a bunch about this stuff and I know how it works, and that's not what happened. He had to get out and walk the walk and have this experience. Now, when I was watching this movie, the first time I just wasn't into it. I wasn't paying attention. I didn't really know what was going on. It was a little bit weird to me. I don't know if I was tired, whatever was going on with me personally, I just didn't understand it. Okay? And so I just didn't really like the movie. But I watched it again and I was intentional about watching it and I got drawn in. And now that I've seen it, I feel like strong enough to talk to you guys about it. If you want to have a side conversation, sometimes say, oh, did you like Avatar? I can say, yeah, I did. And let me tell you why I liked it. And that happens so often in our faith. We expect just because someone maybe comes to church that they've made the connection. Okay, oh, I invited somebody to church, or somebody came and sat in a chair one Sunday, so they make the connection. But see, if they don't make a connection and there's no experience going on, then they're not going to quite get it. Think about that. How awkward would it be? And maybe you guys have dealt with this, if you're newbies, whatevs. Maybe if somebody walked in the door to like a worship service, and they've never had anything to do with Christianity before. and they walk in and there was worship going on. And people are raising their hands and getting powerful, and this band playing. You'd kind of be like, what? Like, what is going on? This is weird, because I don't get what's happening. But then after that, they start getting people in lines, and they come up, and then they give them some bread, and have them dip it into this little cup, and then it's like, that doesn't make sense to someone, just to watch that stuff go on. It needs to be an experience, okay? And so that's kind of what I want to talk about when we go in and have discussions through this book. Because this book, and when we're talking about going deeper in our faith and falling in love, that's the key that needs to happen first, is once we fall in love with God, it makes sense, and we can kind of fine-tune, and we can follow, and we can figure that stuff out. Something else that happens along the way, and a lot of you guys can maybe relate to this, is that you've kind of been through this enough, you kind of get it, right? You've done the drill, but then you get to a point where you forget why you're passionate about it. You forget why you loved it in the first place. I'll give you an example. There's a movie called Little Monsters. No? Okay. You have to check. Okay, I knew. Okay, when I was planning this, I knew someone would get this. All right. So Little Monsters was a great movie. It was like late 80s, Fred Savage. Thank you. Fred Savage is this little kid who, there's a monster living under his bed, and he goes under and he goes to Monsterland and all. So one of my favorite movies of all time, okay? And when I was younger, I used to talk about it and watch it all the time. When I got married, my wife and I, we've been talking for the last few years just about different movies that we saw as we were kids. And you might think of it, because you have your own, I'm sure, from when you were little. Oh, this is my favorite movie. And then it doesn't quite translate when you get older. And so what I'm saying now is, we tried to watch Little Monsters a couple months ago. And I would have told you before, I was like, dude, it's the best movie in the world. It's so good. But I think it's a little bit different when you watch it when you're 8 than when you watch it when you're 30. So I'm watching Little Monsters, and it's still a cool movie, but I'm like, dude, I don't remember any of this. None of this makes sense to me. I thought this happened, and I do not remember that creepy thing. But that's what we do in our faith too, right? You get this faith maybe when you're young. Oh, I kind of get it, I understand it. And then you kind of grow, and it gets stale, and it's just kind of there, and you forget almost why you like it, or why you're believing in what you believe. And if somebody asks you, sure, you might say, oh, I'm a Christian, and that's what I choose to believe in, I love God. But maybe you don't really feel it, because it's been so long since you've experienced that.